Hi everyone, welcome to the Book Dragon. Today we've got Book Dragon founder and author Kirsty F. McKay with us. Hi Kirsty.
Hi.
So as many of our viewers will know, as I said, Kirsty's the founder of the amazing Book Dragon, but she's also an author herself. So I have to start by asking you, Kirsty, as someone who has conducted these interviews yourself, how does it feel to have the roles reversed?
Really strange. I spent so much time helping and supporting every other author, I actually forget that I'm an author myself.
Mhm.
And the whole sort of premise was to help everyone else, but also to help myself as well. But like I said, it's really strange being on the receiving end. But it's nice because I get to experience what other people experience as well, what other authors are benefiting, how they're benefiting from our service. So yeah,
I think that's a good way of
strange.
looking at it, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk to you a bit about your writing now. So
Mhm.
when did you first discover your love for writing? Was it something you had a gift for as a child?
I always had a gift for it as a child. I was one of those children with people used to say I had an overactive imagination. I was always with my head in a book. I always had a jot pad around with me, and I would start writing stories. My love of books came from my mum. She used to do writing a long time ago. She can't do it now. She's got rheumatoid arthritis, but she she wrote some wonderful poetry. Some of the poetry that's actually stayed with me. So if you think that's what 40 plus years that I can remember this poetry, but she used to encourage our reading all the time. She used to take us to the public libraries, and people would look forward to shopping. I looked forward to going to the library and seeing how many books they would let me take out at any one time, because obviously I'm quite a fast reader as well, so I do digest things very, very quickly. So my love for books and my love of writing are sort of all intermingled really, and I've started writing since I was about 5, and my teachers they always said about how good my writing was, and it was something that I needed to concentrate on doing. So naturally English was my favourite subject.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry,
that's
just a
great.
delivery in there as well.
Yeah, so just to explain, Kirsty is actually working from the Book Dragon shop today. So if you hear anything in the background, it's just the day-to-day things of the shop. So thank you for sharing that, Kirsty. So it's obviously been something that's been a part of your life.
Mm.
And also a lot of the action in the Veils of Valoria happens in our native Teesside. So what was behind your decision to use it as a setting?
I think it's because this has always been my home. Middlesbrough's always been my home, and when I was younger, I was moved away from it. It's just as part of course of natural life, and it took me a long time to get back, to move back up here. Direction of travel through my lifetime with following my husband with his careers and things. And so when I moved back, like I said, it's always felt like home, and I wanted to give this wonderful town a bit of recognition as well, because Northeast generally is considered, people think of it as a deprived area, and it's not a place of interest to come and visit. And I just wanted to actually highlight some of the things that we have up here. The Pamo I mentioned in my
Yeah.
book as well, and I remember when I first published it, and I'd mentioned the Pamo, and I had an American reader contact me and said, I had no idea what a Parmo was until I researched it, and it sounds amazing, and now I want to come and to come over and just try a Parmo. So it was just sort of little things, but just to sort of try and raise recognition that there's a lot of things here, positive things here for people to see. And obviously because I'm proud of the town, and proud of where I've come from. So I wanted to give it a little bit of recognition in my book.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I loved reading about it personally. It's like, oh, I know this place and I recognize it and such. So, can you
Yeah.
tell our viewers a bit more about the lore behind your series?
It started off when I started to write Veils of Valoria. It started off as a dream. It was a recurring dream that I was having, and I couldn't understand it. And it was always me hiding in this bin from something sinister that was outside and escaping. And they I thought I'll start off the writing because it was just interesting just to explore it, because I wanted to see where the direction would go and using it as a story idea. And things sort of seemed to develop from there. Now, I naturally have a background in psychic sort of development. It's part of the journey that I've been on as well. So when you start writing, people say to write about things that you know, and sort of that element was very strong with me, certainly with the spirit guides and everything. So I wanted to bring that into the story as well. And it's just one of those that you don't quite know what will happen when you start writing. Some authors have an idea of their whole story, it's all mapped out. I wasn't. I was just one of those. I had an idea to start off with. I know roughly kind of what I wanted to introduce, and let it sort of take its course. And literally everything just started. As soon as I started writing, things just started to sort of take off. And visions in my head, I'm quite with the way that sort of my brain works, I can visually see things. So I could see all these landscapes, and when I was working on Veils of Valoria as well, I was looking at what Valoria would look like, and the magic, and sort of how to sort of set the scene. But I didn't want to sort of rush straight into things as well. So it was kind of that sort of build up to the characters, and also for people to understand the spiritual side, for when the two sides sort of meet and introduce. They're introduced to each other as well, and both themes will run straight through all of the other books as well. In terms of the spiritual sort of supernatural side of things, as well as the fantasy element. I love mixing genres up. I think it makes for a more fascinating story as well when you do sort of mix the genres around. So because I don't like to sit in one genre or another, I do like to play around with both of them. And it's just kind of the way how the whole sort of Valoria develops. So there was the whole thing around places I've been and I've seen, and the landscapes that I've been inspired to, that feeling of being outdoors as well, and kind of how, you know, the natural sort of elements affect people, and my whole spiritual journey and the experiences that I've had with there. And it all just makes brilliant ideas for sort of writing and then sort of creating, and then you can sort of push things a little bit out of your comfort zone and really start sort of exploring it and exploring your characters as well. So I loved the darker side of things when I started to open that sort of writing up and delve a bit deeper, certainly with my main antagonist Kane. He was a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to read as well. So
Yeah.
that actually takes me to my next question, which is, who is your favorite character to write for and why?
Tricky. Kane, I love as an antagonist, probably because he can get away with murder, and he's one of those that you can sort of experiment with in terms of, you know, sort of things I wouldn't dare do or say. But it's nice to have a little bit of fun with him, and he just doesn't care. He's got no respect for women, and he's pretty much out for himself, which is like the total opposite to me. So it was really nice to sort of explore his character further. And I like Bessie or Basantia as well. A lot of the characters that I've wrote have they have backstories to them. So as part of this started off as a series. So as part of that, there will be offshoot novellas exploring more about the law, the world, and those characters in particular, because there's a lot of complex history, and I didn't want to try and sort of overwhelm readers by throwing it all in at the same time. So I sort of try to give a little bit, but then sort of bring it back a bit and sort of have that move forward. But yeah, Bessie's a favourite. Biscuits are a favourite. People will find out why Biscuits are a favourite in the second book. It was a bit of a crazy ride for me, because when I started writing, there was so much to this, the realm that I've built, and the characters, like I said, they've got complicated backstories and everything, which I will share with readers. And when I was writing, it was just, the story was growing and growing and growing, and it was getting to a point I would never get to an end to it. And when I got some editorial support, and I spoke to my editor, and she said, split the book. So we did that. I had to find a point in the story where I could split it, but then that meant me writing another ending to it. And I think I went about through 5 different endings before I was completely happy with it, and before my editor was happy with it. But one thing that I sort of regret was the fact that I'd sort of teased everybody at the beginning of the book with the intention of it all being shared towards the end of the book. And then I split the story off. So I didn't actually go back and finish some of them threads. So I apologise for any readers who are frustrated with that element of my writing. It wasn't intentional at the time. And it's obviously an experience that I've learned from my writing now. So there will be, most of those threads will be answered in the second book, and obviously when you read the offshoot novellas, you'll get a really good understanding of those characters that feature quite heavily in the book, and their backstories and everything. So this is a whole series that I've got so many ideas about, that it's not something that I wanted to finish really quickly. So there's a lot to it. So yeah.
So you might have already answered my next question to a certain degree, but if there's any more to add, please feel free. But I was just going to ask you to tell our viewers what to expect from the sequel, really, without giving away any spoilers.
Yeah, so the next book is called The Guardians of Valoria, and I had hoped to release it a lot earlier than I have done. Obviously, the book dragon's taken some time for that idea to come to fruition, and working on that, and also with me having fibromyalgia as well, it takes me a little longer than I used to do in terms of my writing, because I don't want to sort of write when I'm really tired, or when I'm not concentrating, or where the creative flow is not working, because I just don't feel that I'll do myself or my book any justice. But I am at the end of that, so a self-editing process, and then I'll pass it on for a professional editing review. But Guardians of Valoria, it picks up on the story of Finn and Rowan. It also develops some of the characters a little bit further who play a significant part in their journey. And there will be an eventual move in the book to the Valoria itself. So Rowan does not remain on the Earth realm as Finn knows it, but she will be returning to his home world. Kane's character will continue to develop as well. There'll be more about him coming up, and I have explained some of the other things that have been sort of mentioned in terms of a little bit of history around McKay and Finn's family as well. So hopefully there's plenty of there to satisfy the readers from book 1, and to hopefully keep them interested in reading what's to follow as well, because this is kind of only the beginning. I've just sort of scratched the surface. I think along lines of like Lord of the Rings and George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones sort of realm. There's a lot to these chronicles that I'm writing.
Sounds very exciting. So lots more to look out for there.
Definitely.
It's been an absolute pleasure to interview you today, Kirsty. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy book dragon work.
No, thank you. Like I said, it's been a good experience to obviously be on the other side of things and see the interviews as well. So yes, so thank you, and I'm looking forward to the tour, watching the tour develop.
Yeah, so that's happening all this week at the Book Dragon. So you can come in, pick up a copy of the book in store, and check out what our reviewers have to say online. Thank you so much, Kirsty.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye
Bye for
bye.
now.